Welcome to azelinguistics. This channel is about all things linguistic, discussing topics in phonetics, phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, and sociolinguistics. So let's see what we've got today. Phonetics. What is phonetics? Phonetics is the scientific study of speech sounds. What are speech sounds, to be precise? Okay, so let me make this visual. Here you see three circles. Imagine circle A as all the possible sounds that are produced in the universe. Of course, a lot of those sounds we cannot hear as humans. Their frequency falls way below or above the frequency range that is audible to us as humans. So those sounds that we are capable of hearing, which is a green circle, it's just a subset of the blue circle. So it's a subset of all sounds that humans can hear, only some of which are used in languages. But look, of all the sounds we can hear, there is only a subset of sounds that we use in language. So which is the orange set C. So set A, all possible sounds in the universe. Set B, all sounds humans can hear. Set C, all sounds used in languages. And by languages, I mean all languages around the world, dead and alive. Even if there was a language that had a particular sound and that language died, and we have any evidence of that sound, that would be included in set C. You need to know that this chart is not to scale. I don't mean that. You see the green circle is almost half the size of the blue circle. This doesn't mean that I'm saying that half the sounds in the universe are audible by humans. I'm not making that claim. So this is just showing the subset relationship, the set relationship, but it's not to scale. So phonetics is the study of set C sounds, all the sounds in all human languages. The sounds in C are combined in different ways, and they are used in particular languages. So here we have three other sets. The gray one, imagine this is all the sounds in the English language. Then we have set F, which is language F. In this case, is Persian. So it has its own set of sounds. And this is, the yellow one is G, Spanish. So this is all the sounds of Spanish, okay, as you can see in the pictures. Imagine these circles as part of set C in figure 1, okay? So of course, specific languages are part of all the sounds of all human languages. Any given language may have a different set of sounds, some of which may overlap with sounds in one or more other languages. All of these three languages have their own sounds, and they share some with the other, a specific other language, and there's also an area which is shared by all three of them. So that's basically the idea of this diagram, but again, it's not to scale, okay? So the idea here is that English and Spanish share certain sounds with each other, part of which they don't share with Persian and part of which they do. And then the same applies to Spanish and Persian and English and Persian if you take them separately, 2 by 2. Also, we need to make a note of the fact that there are different kinds of English and there are different kinds of Spanish and different kinds of Persian. For example, the sound kha, it doesn't exist in English, but it exists in a lot of varieties of Spanish, and it also exists in Persian. So you could say that's the area that is shared by Spanish and Persian, but it's not shared by English. And then the sound qa, which exists in Persian, that's not shared by any of the other two, that is English or Spanish. There are some vowels in English that do not exist in Persian or Spanish. And then the sound wa, as in water, wa, the W, it exists in some varieties of Persian and exists in English, but it doesn't exist in Spanish. Unless in certain words, like nawatl. Now that you have the idea, then somebody might say, what is the difference between phonetics and phonology? Okay, so this is a simple way of saying the difference for practical purposes at this level of a study, which is intro. Phonetics is the study of set C, The study of the set of sounds in E, F, or G and the patterns of use of the sounds of any of the above subsets is the subject matter of phonology rather than phonetics. So that is probably the easiest way to distinguish the difference between phonetics and phonology. Note! Humans can hear sounds that they cannot produce. Okay, interesting note. We can hear sounds that we cannot produce, like the sounds of glass shattering into pieces, right? I can hear that sound, but I can't make that sound. Also, there are sounds that we can produce, and of course here, which are not speech sounds, such as the sound of clearing your throat. This is not a speech sound. It's a sound I can make. So there are sounds I can hear that I cannot produce, and because I cannot produce, of course, it's not part of any language. There are also sounds that I can actually produce, but they're still not part of any language. So what about the different ways people with speech disorders speak? They don't exactly make the same sounds that we do they? There are sounds that can only be produced by people with an abnormal craniofacial development, such as a cleft palate. These sounds are of interest to the clinical phonetician, but are normally not dealt with by the general phonetician. So what we are doing here is general phonetics. But since speech sounds are studied from different viewpoints, actually phonetics is further subdivided into 3 areas: articulatory phonetics, acoustic phonetics, and auditory phonetics, which is the 3 different ways of studying speech sounds. So just briefly introducing the concepts. If you want more, you have to listen to the next video. But for now, if one's focus is on how speech sounds are produced in the human vocal tract, one is doing articulatory phonetics. If one is focusing on the physical properties of speech sounds, one is doing acoustic phonetics, the sounds themselves, studying the properties of sounds themselves, per se, physics of sounds. And if one's study is centered on how sounds are perceived by the listener, one is doing auditory phonetics, articulatory phonetics, acoustic phonetics, and auditory phonetics, and try to memorize them in the same order. Thanks for your time and attention, and see you again soon.